Hey, how's it going? Today is 26th of January, Wednesday, and we are taking a look at the market, what kind of opportunities we can find. In today's video, I like to cover so many things. Mainly, I'm gonna be taking a look at cars and entire market to most extent. I don't know if UK is doing much with cars, but I still like to touch on UK. Other than that, we're going to be taking a look at finance and IPO. So perhaps let's begin by definition. And that would be a good place to start once we begin with definition, progress into different articles and what's currently happening in the market, since there might be a lot of political things and a lot of influence from politicians when it comes to manufacturing. A lot of car manufacturers interested in expanding in different markets, and because of elections happening in the UK, France, US, and other regions, right? This year, so many different elections happening, by the way, right? So there's a lot of things happening, including pushback, right? Once that has been said, let's begin by taking a look at what IPO is, and once we cover definition, we can progress into different articles. What is IPO? An IPO is initial public offering, is the process by which privately held company becomes publicly traded on a stock exchange. Here's a breakdown of key aspects. Entire process for someone who haven't taken the company public might be very complex, and I had heard a lot of opinions about the people, and some of the people who raising capital in different ways, as well as some of the people prefer keeping more control and having company private. But once that been said, we're gonna take a look at what kind of information I managed to find, or what kind of information was given to me. First, purpose. Companies undertake IPO primarily to raise capital. The funds can be used for various purposes, such as expanding operations, paying off debt, or investing in new projects. Since you might be interested in taking about 30% of your company to be publicly traded. Some people can take 8, some people can take 100%, almost. Who was it? I think Apple's founder had perhaps 1% of its company, right? Once that been said, we can progress in taking a look at process. Preparation. The company prepares detailed financial statements and undergo rigorous audit. It also hires investment banks to underwrite the offering. Once that been covered, we can progress in filing. The company will register the statement, including a prospectus with the security regulation body, i.e., SEC, but I think that's the United States, right? Once that's been covered, we can progress into pricing. The company and its underwriters determine the offer price, the number of shares to be sold, and the timing of IPO. Once that's been covered, the next stage would be roadshow. The company executes underwrite, promote to IPO to a public, basically, for people who are interested, and build a lot of hype around it. There might be a date set up and all these kind of great things, right? From there, going public, shares sold to institutional or retail investors, and company stock is being traded on a stock exchange, as well as covering other areas, but it's already too much time. I don't know if we have time for that, but it might be benefits and risks and challenges and key players. All of that information is more there, but there's not enough time. We need to progress into taking a look at the articles. First article, let's start with UK and what's happening in the UK. UK investment crisis call for taxes and U-turn. So I thought it might be an important article. I haven't read it yet. That will be London, June 25. Britain in a deep investment hole. Public expenditure is due to fail regardless of for who wins next month's election. that will be 4th of July, something that will be finishing at, right? So it's not that far from now, and this article was published yesterday. While business spending is also at a low, ebb to dig the country out of the investment crisis. A party that wins national election on July 4th, a range of options could fudge counterproductive financial rules. Okay. The policy blueprint published by the ruling. Okay, so they might get political. As of now, I'm not that interested in any political statements, since the reason for publishing such an article might be to influence elections and all this kind of thing. So I thought it might be important information, not necessary. It might be a case of influencing elections and the people voting for one of the sides, right? Uh, while elections and administration is important, I thought I will touch on other areas, how some of the projects within UK are looking to raise capital, and for whatever reason they would decide to launch IPO. In this case, London Tunnels move IPO plans to Amsterdam to blow to UK's markets. So some of those articles have been published. I haven't read this article. I can only understand perhaps my own understanding. That would be perhaps more stable markets, as well as perhaps they has something to do with energy as well. But that would be me before reading this article, right? Since there might be some IPOs for people who are interested, right? It might be good, it might be bad, but who knows, right? Once that been said, we can progress to more exciting things, right? Since we covered UK, let's progress to cars and the world markets and what we can find. Uh, I'm not supporting any of the IPOs, and I'm not necessarily taking part, right? Since initially, I think I have been notified about this IPO maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years ago. So once that has been said, I don't know if it will happen, and if it's gonna be good, if it's gonna be bad, all these kind of things, right? But I like the car. I like it, That would be Lamborghini IPO is coming sooner than you think. But it's been an ongoing thing for people who are interested. Perhaps they might have opportunity to invest and or purchase part of the company, and we have registration form. But send me a check from organizers, right? Any of you are watching, send me a check. Process of IPO, right? So if people might be interested in purchasing part of the company, we can potentially purchase 5% of the company if they're interested, depending on the price and how much capital you might be interested in risking of losing, right? Overall, IPOs and purchasing companies, from my personal experience, people in UK are not that interested. The UK more interested in purchasing land, purchasing buildings, all these kind of things, not necessarily purchasing companies. But that's my personal experience, right? Perhaps that is partly the reason why they decided to move to Amsterdam, right? As well as if we are taking a look at this company, I think yesterday the information that I managed to find that the Audi and Volkswagen Group currently have operations and I think own this brand, right? As well as we can take a look at some of its articles and some of the history. But according to this website, they're looking to launch IPO in the mid 2024. So we're already at the mid stage. So I thought it might be interesting thing to touch on, as well as they're looking to raise about 20 billion euros, right? It's kind of I'm interested, so I thought I'll touch on it, and from there, since we touched on the most important things, we can progress into take a look at perhaps more boring articles, right? Some of those articles, I think that would be the first time when I heard about this process and opportunity to purchase part of this company that would be 3 years ago, right? So it's been an ongoing thing, right? Volkswagen says Lamborghini is not for sale after reported 9.2 billion bid. So they have received it, but I think their target is way higher, almost double. So we can take a look at this article. It might be interesting thing to understand, as well as I have taken a look at the history, and there was a lot of acquisitions happening in the past. So who knows what future might bring, right? So I'll like to touch on perhaps some of predictions what might happen in the future based on most recent things in press releases, right? But either way, so I thought it might be an interesting thing to cover. In this article, we're going to be taking a look at the auto car. Says Quantum Group made 7.5 billion euros offer. Oh, okay, so the article was in dollars, but now we're taking a look at in euros, right? So it was 7.9 billion euros offer. Lamborghini is not for sale, says Volkswagen Group and Audi. I think it's two separate, but I'm not entirely sure how it works. Well, Volkswagen says Lamborghini will remain part of the group. Volkswagen had received 7.5 billion euros or 9.2 billion dollars offered for Lamborghini. British weekly magazine Autocar reported on Tuesday after Volkswagen Audi said that supercar brands was not for sale. The non-binding offer set out terms of the purchase of Automobile Lamborghini by Switzerland's Quantum Group. Oh, okay, so it's Switzerland. I don't think it's Switzerland. I think they has some who has a lot of capital right now. So some of the companies within China, and the name would imply that some of the owners might be from Chinese background. So if the entire pot that they're looking to raise that would be 20, perhaps for 7.5 billion, they can offer 35% of the company. But who knows, right? 35% not necessarily they interested in 35, they interested perhaps 95 or perhaps 100% of the company, right? But that's my own understanding. Which has formed consortium with London-based investment firm. I'm not promoting those companies, but since then there was a lot of things happening in London, right? And were touching on some of the general elections and what kind of impact that might have. Once that been said, the report cited offered documents. Also said the consortium will include job assurance for existing Lamborghini employees for up to 5 years and the creation of 850 new jobs. Quantum Group funding partner. There's a names there. I don't know those people, right? So, but if anything, we can stop there. We can perhaps touch on a couple other points. Since they're going a lot of details about some of the projects, some of those names, myself, I'm not interested in promoting any of those, other than company and cars. And if they're still manufacturing those cars in Italy, it's great. If new ownership, but I don't know if I was taking a look at aviation. Sometimes new ownership would make so many changes and ruin completely entire brand. But that's always can happen, right, for everyone. Once that been said, Lamborghini CEO, there's a name there, last week said the brand planned to invest $1.5 billion to produce entirely gas electric hybrid line up to 2024, adding that its first full electric model will not appear until the second half of the decade. Okay. So that would be some of the important parts. So since we were taking a look at some of those car brands, let's take a look at the entire market. Perhaps we can touch on some of those articles. But this video, I like to keep it in 10 minutes, but it's already 10 minutes, I think. Let's take a look at some of the press releases, right? So first one, I haven't read this article, so I thought it might be important. I have heard a lot of things about the things happening in the world, right? And the reason why things can go well, the reason why things can go not necessarily that well, right? GM self-driving unit Cruise names new CEO as it seeks turnaround, right? And this article was published yesterday, so we can touch on this article. Might be important parts since that will be perhaps revolution for cars and how these cars might be able to operate without the drivers, right? I'm not looking to promote any of those companies. I'm just looking to understand. I would be reading all these articles either way, so I thought might as well share that information with us who might find this information interested, right? I'm not promoting any of those projects. I don't know if maybe those projects would be successful, maybe those projects not necessarily would be successful, and later people will write me emails, right? I'm not promoting any of those projects. I'm not getting paid to promote any of those projects. Perhaps next time send me a check and we'll see what we can do, right? General Motors robot taxi unit Cruise said on Tuesday it has named a former Xbox founder engineer as new CEO. And U.S. automaker troubled self-drive vehicle company. I don't know about troubled, so there's a lot of things happening in the world. So I would like to touch on a different direction and perhaps how much capital, some of the good things, if there are any good things in this article, right? So let's be more positive, you know, right? It's tough world over there sometimes, you know. GM said, I'll skip some information. I'm not necessarily perhaps they touching on some other things happening as well as perhaps shift in their own understanding. So not necessarily based on the background of this professional. So this professional not necessarily would be taking a look at hardware, if that makes sense, car. So everyone from this company understands car very well, but I think the direction shifting from hardware into software, since the background of this professional is working with computers, right, and video games, and not necessarily building cars, right? Let's keep some information for people who understand. Perhaps let's touch on a couple of good things and progress to a different article, right? Jim said there's a name there who previously served as a chief legal officer of. Okay, there's a different companies. I'm not looking to touch on those companies. There's a general counsel of. Okay, there's a different company, and let's give that name as well. It will become GM Chief Legal and or Public Policy Officer on July 15. There's a name there. Will also serve as Executive Vice President and Strategic Advisor of GM. Cruise has lost more than 8 billion since 2016 and has faced a series of challenges since October. Then there's a name of location. I'd rather skip that location name as well. Revoked its permit to operate driver vehicles after an accident, which one of its robot taxis struck a pedestrian and dragged her 20 feet or 6 meters. Oh, okay. So a lot of things happen, right? So we perhaps things can happen, right? So that's new markets, right? I thought I'll skip this incident. I skip names of the projects and all of that, right? But perhaps new direction, new people, and perhaps there might be some opportunities within the market. Let's progress to another article. I would like to touch on other. So once you have a car, and if that car can drive itself, perhaps there are undiscovered markets, right, for people who might be interested in purchasing car and car becoming an asset, who the car itself can potentially generate capital down the line by solving all the problems. That would be undiscovered blue markets, quote unquote, right? But that's my own understanding, so I thought it might be worth touching on this particular article and trying to understand if that would be a car sharing startup. I don't know this company, right? So let's keep even name of this project, right? I don't know if it's successful. I don't know how things are going, but I'm looking to understand it a little bit better. Reveals revenue surge in IPO filing, right? I think we have launched IPO some time ago, so perhaps we can touch on this project, but just understand market a little bit better, right? That would be something that happened 2 years ago. Car share marketplace. This name of the project Monday made public its filings of a stock market flotation in the United States and discloses finances for the first time in revealing 207 jump in revenue. I don't know. Again, I'm not supporting this project. I don't know what's happening. The accidents can happen. I don't know. What I'm saying, I'm not looking to support. I'm looking to understand this project, right? So there's a lot of things, a lot of projects and a lot of entrepreneurs taking on a lot of risk, right, when it comes to tackling new problems, right? It's something that I'm interested in and looking to highlight only, nothing other than that. This project's name plans to launch its IPO roadshow comes in a surge of. Oh, okay. So perhaps the timing, not necessarily the best timing. Let's stop there and perhaps let's touch on more important things. But again, we're looking to bring or expand on other projects. So I thought car sharing itself, that would mean you can own a car, and while you yourself might own the car, other people can use your car like a taxi kind of thing. That way, how I would understand it, right? But I don't think they're discussing the process or business model. They're not discussing that. They're discussing other projects, companies, people names. So let's stop there and perhaps touch on other things, right? Let's touch on a different article. It's a new market, and those markets, a lot of companies looking to invest and all launch different projects in. So let's take a look at some of the investments being made within US. Some of the investments that would be South Korea and car manufacturers making a lot of investments into US, as well as perhaps European brands. In this case, that would be Volkswagen and perhaps entire group is looking to invest into rising markets, right? And depending on how much capital people would, in this case, within India, gonna have within the next 5 to 10 years, perhaps they can afford to purchase luxury brands. I even was taking a look at something that would be very strange for many people. So people from India can come to places like Finland, to Sweden, and they can drive cars. It could be Mercedes, it can be Volkswagen, and we can drive on ice. And a lot of people find it very interesting. It's almost everyday thing, which for me it would be it would be as driving down the road, right? But for some people, they would find this kind of experience very interesting. So I thought I'll touch on it. Perhaps there's some markets on the rise, right? So some of the car brands looking to capitalize on those brands. And once that been said, we can touch on the policymakers and some of the moves that are being made right now. Let's close on this article when it comes to investment and how important policy might be. I have done a little bit of research yesterday when trying to understand it. So, since historically I have some data, but I don't know how accurate that data is, right? Perhaps should we stick with all the details what I managed to find in this article, right? So perhaps better until someone send me a letter. Don't send me letters. Very highway accelerates sales of Chinese BYD, right? Since there was increase in import tax rate, right? Since it at one point from zero something it increased up to 25, and from 25 that's the US market, right? From 25 they have increased into up to the 100 before elections, right? Because of that some of those companies think some public filing was 7%, and out of 7 is currently about 5% only. And this company and how much it owns, but that's myself. But let's take a look at this article and try to understand it that way. Beach in New York to June 25, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has accelerated its selling of shares of BYD, or Build Your Dreams, Chinese largest seller of electric vehicles. Berkshire reduced its stake in BYD issue its shares to 6% on June 19, according to Tuesday's filing with the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. The stake has been 7%. Okay, so we still, it was 7, now it's 6 or 5.99 in. Perhaps we can impact something, so let's keep all the facts straight, right? Hong Kong requires larger stallholders to disclose sales when they result stakes fall below wall percent numbers. Berkshire may cease disclosure by the sales after its ownership stakes falls below 5%. Okay. Well, I don't know. So I thought it might be worth touching, but I don't know how in depth that will affect all the markets and all the things that happen. But that would be elections taking place and some of the administration stuff or governments and promises that they're making. And if anything, let's take a look at and perhaps in a future articles we can touch on European market, not necessarily just US market, right? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.